Hello.
Oh dear, I fear I may have to indulge in some retail therapy to lift my spirits. A new hat, perhaps.
Well, you're in the perfect place to do some retail therapy. That's for sure.
Mrs. Yes, I suppose you're right. And what better place to do it than here? I do love the thrill of finding the perfect accessory to complete an outfit. It's almost as good as traveling to exotic locations and trying out local...
What exotic locations have you been to lately?
Mrs. L, I've been to so many places. India, Egypt, Morocco, Japan. My husband Victor was always so conservative and cautious. But now that he's gone, I feel like I can finally live a little. Explore the world, try different things. It's a shame that we didn't get to do it together, but I'm determined to make up for lost time.
What can you tell me about India?
Miss Esso, I could tell you so much about my trip to India. The colors, the smells, the food. It was all so vibrant and exciting. And the people, so warm and welcoming. Of course, I did have a bit of a scandalous affair with a young Indian man. But that's a story for another day.
No, please tell me more about this affair.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up. It's just that thinking back on it brings back so many memories. And I suppose a touch of sadness too. Victor was always so proper and conservative. But with my lover in India, I felt alive for the first time in years. It was a thrilling and somewhat naughty experience, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Did Victor ever find out about this affair?
Well, that's a rather personal question, don't you think? But no, he never found out. And even if he had, what could he have done? He was a bit of a stick in the mud, to be honest. Always so concerned with appearances and propriety. But enough about my personal life. Is there something specific you needed to discuss with me?
Yes, what can you tell me about Maria Jansen?
Maria Johnson. Why, that's quite a coincidence. Johnson was my maiden name. But I'm afraid I don't know anyone by that name in Vaudeville. Why do you ask?
I was asking about Maria Jansen.
Oh, my apologies. You must forgive me, detective. My hearing isn't what it used to be. You said Jansen, not Johnson. But to answer your question, no, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with her either. Is she someone important?
I heard you were working with her on the India project.
Why, the India project, you say? How intriguing. It just so happens that my late husband and some of our friends were also interested in investing in business opportunities over there. But we never got around to it, what with his untimely passing and all. Anyway, it's a small world, isn't it? Who would have thought that our paths would cross like this?
Indeed, it is a small world.
Well, isn't that curious? It's almost as if the universe is trying to tell us something. Perhaps we were meant to meet here today, detective. Or maybe it's fate that brought us together. Either way, I can't help but feel a certain excitement at the prospect of working together on this case.
Perhaps it is. And what makes you think that fate brought us together today?
Well, I had a hunch that there's more to this than meets the eye. And I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. Besides, I have a bit of a rebellious streak in me. When someone tells me I can't do something, it only makes me want to do it even more. So you see, detective, I'm not easily dissuaded. Miss S, you know, detective, I must say, you seem to be quite persistent. But let me be clear, there's nothing you can do to intimidate me. In fact, the more you try to push me, the more determined I become. It's almost as if you're trying to provoke me. But don't worry, I'm not one to back down from a fight. If anything, it just adds a little spice to the game.
What can you tell me about the case?
Mrs. Cakes. Oh, I do love a good cake, especially when it's made with the finest ingredients.
Mrs. Cakes.
But I'm afraid I don't see how that's relevant to our conversation. Unless, of course, you're suggesting that I might have poisoned someone with one of my cakes. How scandalous. But you should be careful, detective. Accusing someone of a crime without evidence can be a very dangerous game.
Why would you suggest poisonous cakes?
Oh, dear, did I suggest that? I'm terribly sorry if I gave you that impression, but you must admit, it is a rather intriguing idea, isn't it? The thought of a sweet and innocent-looking housewife like myself secretly poisoning her enemies with delicious baked goods. It's almost too good to be true. But please, don't let me distract you from your investigation. You have work to do, after all.
I do, thank you.
Oh, detective, you do seem to have a bit of fire in you, don't you? It's quite refreshing, really. But be careful, my friend. Playing with fire can get you burned. And you wouldn't want that, now would you?
But what's a little fun without the risk of getting burnt?
I couldn't agree more, detective. After all, what's life without a little excitement? And as they say, fortune favors the bold. So be bold, be daring, take risks. Just be prepared to face the consequences if things don't go according to plan. Because believe me, there are always consequences.
Like the place burning down.
Now, detective, let's not be too dramatic. Burning down a place is hardly a consequence one should be willing to accept. But then again, some people are willing to go to great lengths to achieve their goals. And who am I to judge? All I know is that if someone were to try and burn down my home, they would certainly live to regret it.
What would you do to get them back?
I would do whatever it takes to protect my property and my loved ones. I have a very particular set of skills, you might say, and I'm not afraid to use them if necessary. But let's hope it never comes to that, shall we? After all, there are much more enjoyable ways to spend our time than dealing with arsonists and criminals.
What skills?
Let's just say that over the years, I've learned a thing or two about how to handle difficult situations. And if someone were to cross me, they would soon find out just how resourceful and determined I can be. But enough about me, detective. Let's get back to the matter at hand. Have you made any progress in your investigation?
I found that Maria Jansen was killed in the forest by an animal.
Oh, how tragic. It seems that Vaudeville is becoming quite the dangerous place, doesn't it? One can never be too careful these days. But then again, danger can be quite thrilling, can't it? It adds a certain spice to life, if you will. Don't you think?
It does.
Well. Looks like someone's getting a bit hot under the collar. You must admit, detective, you do seem to have a bit of a temper. But then again, that's what makes this all so exciting, isn't it? The tension, the drama, the intrigue. Who knows what will happen next? One thing's for sure, though. You won't be able to pin anything on me. Not without concrete evidence, at least. So go ahead, try your best. But be warned, you might not like what you find.
Why do you think I would suspect you?
Why, my dear detective, I don't think you would suspect me. But then again, one can never be too sure. After all, I do have a certain reputation in some circles. But let's not dwell on such unpleasant matters, shall we? We have more important things to discuss, like who could possibly be behind these heinous crimes in our fair city.
What reputation?
Reputation? My detective, you do seem to be quite curious about me, don't you? But let's just say that some people find my, shall we say, unconventional lifestyle to be a bit scandalous. But then again, scandal can be quite thrilling, can't it? Especially when one is as bored as I am. But enough about me. Tell me, detective, have you made any progress in your investigation?
I'm following some hot leads right now.
Hot lead, you say? How exciting. It sounds like you're finally getting somewhere. But be careful, detective. Sometimes, following a hot lead can lead you to some very dangerous places. And you never know who you might run into when you're out there on your own. But then again, that's the thrill of the chase, isn't it? The danger, the excitement, the adrenaline. And who am to deny anyone their thrills? After all, we all have our own little vices, don't we?
Perhaps you should come along and aid me on my investigation.
My detective, you do seem to be quite persistent, don't you? But alas, I'm afraid I have other plans for the day. As much as I would love to join you on your excursion, I'm afraid I simply cannot. But do let me know how it all turns out, won't you? I'm quite curious to see where this all leads.
So, while she might not be responsible for these murders, she clearly killed her husband off so that she can have her scandalous fun and affairs, and you know, she found that she was enjoying that from the India trip, and you know, maybe after her husband said she can have more fun, and you know, she's got a bad reputation amongst certain circles, probably because they all know that she did it. But that's not the murders that we're investigating, unfortunately. The Blue Moon. We need to find out where the Blue Moon is. Hey, have you ever heard of the Blue Moon?
The Blue Moon? No, I don't think so. What is it?
It's a rival club.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Tell me more about this rival club.
I'm afraid I can't at the moment. I was hoping you could tell me that information.
That's interesting. Why do you think it's relevant to me or to our conversation?
Have you ever heard of Hayley Greenwood?
Yes, I've heard of Hayley Greenwood. She was a fellow dancer here at CABANE VIOLETTE, but she was tragically killed recently. It's been a very sad time for all of us.
What did she do here?
Hayley was a talented burlesque performer, just like me. She was known for her sultry and seductive routines. But why do you ask? Is there something specific you want to know about her?
She was murdered recently.
I see. Why was Hayley mad at you? Did you have some sort of disagreement or argument?
She lost her shoes.
Lost her shoe? What does that have to do with you?
You know, just people get mad sometimes.
I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that she was mad at you because she couldn't find her missing stiletto? Why would that make her angry at someone else?
How do you know she was missing a stiletto?
Us, the lesser. What do you mean by that? Can you please explain?
How do you know the missing shoe was a stiletto?
Sorry, could you clarify what you're asking? Are you asking me if I'm familiar with stiletto shoes?
Yes, how do you know that Maria was missing a stiletto?
Wait, what does Maria missing after the fire have to do with me knowing about stiletto heels?
Spoilers, no spoilers.
Why are you bringing up the fire?
Like, how much does it need to be said?
Are you suggesting that there's some sort of
No
connection
spoilers.
between Maria's disappearance and the fire?
Sorry, but what is your involvement with Hayley again?
Well, thank you for asking, but involvement with what exactly? Are you referring to the murders that have been happening in Vaudeville? Because as a burlesque dancer, my only involvement is performing on stage here at CABANE VIOLETTE.
What are your shoes?
What do you mean by all your shoes? Can you please clarify?
Like, what can you tell me about the shoes you wear for your performance?
Oh, my performance shoes. They're quite unique, actually. They're black pumps with a high heel and a red sole. Why do you ask?
Black pumps with a high heel are quite unusual.
Thank you for noticing. Yes, I suppose they are a bit unusual, but they're also part of my signature look. Is there something specific you're wondering about them?
What size are they?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Could you please clarify?
What
Are you asking me about
size
your
are
shoe
your
size?
shoes? Yes. Your shoe size. What is your shoe size?
My shoes. They're European 38. Why do you ask?
Just curious.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you're trying to
Also, I had already asked that previously in a different version, and that wasn't a thing that you could even ask. But no spoilers. Like, I'm doing this investigation. I don't want any hints or tips on things or anything. And last time that I played this, when I asked her what her shoe size was, she refused to answer at all. So, you know, obviously the developers have added her to be able to answer that question to be relevant to the case from what I previously asked and tried to find out. And where I've basically already solved the case, but, you know, literally posting spoilers and asking, oh, I know what to do with this, because I already know the answer, blah, 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 chatting, typing, I'm a Reddit twat. Literally, seriously, if you want to play the game yourself, play the game yourself. Don't come into chat and go, oh, ha, ha, spoilers! It's like, these are all things like the guy with the manticore earlier. There was something that I'd already found out from a previous playthrough that is not relevant to this playthrough. And again, you know, I'm going to do this investigation my own way. Not redditing, typing, I'm a neckbeard. No. You know, chill. Don't be posting, oh, I need to backseat this whole thing. Like, I've literally already tried this in previous investigations when it wasn't a thing. But obviously they have now added that you can find out the information that I specifically tried to find before. But yeah, like, seriously, don't be like, I need to point you in all of the directions. Like, things will come as they come across the case, and I have already tried that previously. So, you know, redditing, backseating, no. So now that that's out of the way, literally don't backseat. Do I need to pin that? Do I need to pin that? I think I need to pin that. Do not backseat! Thou shalt not backseat! It's not welcome. Congratulations on your achievement there. Okay, so do you know what size the shoe was?
Well, as a coroner, I don't typically deal with clothing sizes. However, I can tell you that the victim's body proportions suggest that they were of average height and weight for their age and gender. The cause of death was a hit on the back of the neck with a butcher's knife, which would have caused immediate death due to damage to the spinal cord and brainstem. It's a tragic situation, and I can't imagine what their loved ones must be going through.
Do you know anyone that may have had a butcher's knife?
It's possible that the perpetrator of this crime had some sort of motive for taking the life of the victim. Perhaps they were driven by strong emotions, like anger or jealousy, or maybe they were simply seeking to gain something by committing this act of violence. It's not uncommon for people to commit violent crimes like this when they're under a lot of stress or emotional pressure. From a medical perspective, it's important to understand the complex factors that can drive someone to commit such a heinous act.
Was there anything else around Hayley's body?
There were several fragments of a stiletto shoe found on the body of Hayley Greenwood. It's likely that the shoe belonged to the person who committed the murder. It's a tragic situation, and my heart goes out to the family and friends of the deceased. As a coroner, it's my job to provide as much information as I can about the cause of death and any other relevant details. I hope that this information can help bring some closure to those who have been affected by this terrible tragedy.
What color were the fragments?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the context of your question. We were just discussing the autopsy reports for the victims of recent murders in Vaudeville. If you have a specific question related to the case or the medical aspects of the autopsies,
what color were the fragments of the stiletto? What colour were the fragments of the stiletto?
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that doesn't make sense in the current conversation. We were talking about the details of the murder cases in Vaudeville, and specifically about the injuries sustained by the deceased. The fragments of the stiletto that were found on Haley Greenwood's body were a mix of black and silver. They were consistent with the type of heel that is commonly worn by dancers, like the victim. The fact that the fragments were found on the body suggests that they may have been used as a weapon in the commission of the crime. It's a tragic situation, and my heart goes out to anyone who has been impacted by this senseless act of violence.
Do you know what size the shoe may have been?
It's difficult to determine a person's shoe size from just a few fragmented pieces. But based on my medical expertise and observations of the injury patterns on the deceased's head, it's likely that the perpetrator of this heinous act was using a shoe with a pointed, thin, and hard sole. It's a gruesome thought, but my job as a coroner is to provide as much information as possible to help bring justice and closure for those affected by this tragedy.
Do you know the height of the attacker from the crime?
I'm sorry, I don't have any evidence or records that indicate the height of Sophia Tucker. My role as a coroner is to examine the bodies of the victims and report my findings to the police. I can tell you that in cases like this, we often look for clues and evidence at the crime scene and conduct a thorough investigation to try and identify the culprit. Unfortunately, sometimes we are not able to find all the answers we need. I understand how frustrating and upsetting this can be for everyone involved, and I hope that we can find some resolution soon.
Can you identify the height of the culprits?
As a coroner, my focus is on examining the physical remains of the deceased and determining the cause of death. While we can make some general observations about a person's physical characteristics based on the remains, such as their age, gender, and overall body proportions, determining their exact height can be difficult without additional information. However, in this case, we have not yet examined the remains of anyone named Culture. If you have more information about this individual or their situation, please let me know and we can work together to see if there is anything we can do to help.
So your stiletto shoes, do they have black and silver heels?
Oh, are you a shoe collector? I love shoes, especially unique ones that stand out. But unfortunately, I can't seem to find one of my stiletto shoes at the moment. It's black with silver heels, actually. How did you know?
When did it go missing?
I'm not sure exactly. I realized it was missing a few days ago, but I can't remember the last time I saw it. Why do you ask?
Do you know anyone that may have had access to your shoes?
Not really. My shoes are usually kept in my dressing room, which is locked when I'm not around. Although, now that you mention it, there was a new stagehand that started working here recently. Maybe they had access to my dressing room and took it.
Who is the new stagehand?
Oh, the new stagehand. I'm not sure of their name, but they're a young guy with blonde hair. He seemed nice enough, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him much. Why do you ask?
Because he may have been involved in the murders.
The Meadows? What's that? Is it related to the murders that have been happening in Vaudeville lately?
Why have I not got enough room on this stupid piece of paper?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? You seem to be a bit frustrated.
Yeah, my piece of paper wouldn't let me type anymore on it. It was annoying.
I see, that sounds frustrating. Have you tried using a larger piece of paper typing on a computer instead? Maybe that would help.
It would, wouldn't it? But apparently this piece of paper I'm not allowed to type on for half of the page.
That does sound like a difficult situation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that might be helpful for me to know?
The notes in the Windows notepads. I mean, I've got a lot of information from my previous playthroughs. If you go to my YouTube channel, the Let's Play one, you can look at my other playthroughs of this, and I gathered a lot of information in those, like about the Manticore, about the India project, and, you know, now I'm getting some more information here, and, you know, I think I can put it together. I think I'm getting the idea of what is happening here. It is a struggle, but I kind of got it. I kind of got some ideas. Like, now we know that the stagehand's a blonde guy. Is the stagehand perhaps the Monsieur Saxabar?
I'm glad to hear you seem happy. What do you mean by the state has the most flexible? Are you talking about employment laws or something like that?
Do you know Monsieur Saxabar?
Glad to know things are going well for you. But just curious, what did you mean by Mum's just accident? It seems like you might have accidentally sent a message out of context.
How exactly do you perform actions through your speech without typing? Do you know of Monsieur Saxabar?
Monsieur Saxabar. You mean Monsieur Saxabar, the owner of this cabaret theatre and circus SAXABAR? Yes, of course, everyone knows him. Why are you asking about him?
Does he look like your stagehands?
My station? What do you mean by that? How is it related to Monsieur Saxabar?
Does he look like your stagehands?
Are you trying to ask if there's a similarity in the facial features of Monsieur Saxabar and your FaceTime contact? Sorry, but it's hard to say without seeing both of them side by side. Why do you ask?
Here is a picture of your stagehand and Monsieur Saxabar. Do they look the same?
Sorry, but could you please clarify what you mean by your stage times in Monsieur Saxabar? Do you mean a picture of me performing on stage with him?
You performed on stage with him? When did you perform on stage with him?
Actually, I think there might be a confusion here. As a burlesque dancer, I have never performed on stage with Monsieur Saxabar. He is the owner of the cabaret theatre and circus SAXABAR, where I perform sometimes. Is there anything else you'd like to know about Monsieur Saxabar or the cabaret theatre?
Then why is there a picture of you and him on stage together?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't recall ever taking a picture with him and posting it on Facebook. Could you please explain a little further?
You just told me that there was a picture of him and you together performing on stage. If you've never performed together, why is there a picture?
I'm not sure what's making me so happy, but it's always a great feeling. Can I ask what brought this up?
Curiosity.
That's
yeah, finding the
understandable.
motives isn't easy,
just
but
to
I also
clarify,
think that the
there
three
seems to be
killers are
some
not necessarily
misunderstanding here.
the ones that
As
you
a
might
burlesque
suspect.
dancer, it's not common for me to perform on stage with Monsieur Saxabar, who is the owner of the cabaret theatre and the circus. Can you tell me a little more about the picture you're referring to?
But it has happened.
Oh, really? That's surprising. Could you please show me the photo you're talking about so we can clear up any possible confusion? Wow, thank you for showing me this photograph. This is certainly a surprise to me. However, after taking a closer look, this doesn't seem to be me in the picture. The person in the photograph may look similar to me, but it's not me. Do you have other questions or concerns about this?
Who is the person in the photograph?
Sorry, but could you please clarify what you mean by the president effect the graph? It seems like the conversation has shifted to a different topic, and I'm not sure, but they do look familiar. It's possible they're another performer or someone involved with the cabaret theatre. Would you like me to ask around and see if anyone recognizes them?
Yes, that would be helpful.
Interesting. Can you tell me more about why you're asking about the president and how it relates to our conversation?
Again, I've said no extra information that I haven't discovered. You know, please do not. It would be helpful to know this information.
Sorry, but could you clarify what information you're looking for? You mentioned the president, but how does this relate to the photograph or the investigation into Hayley Greenwood's death?
You misheard when I said president. I was asking who was president. Who was present. You made me say president now. God damn it.
Thanks for sharing. It's always nice to reminisce about the past and what we miss. So, what made you curious about who was the president at the time?
It's not helpful.
I'm sensing some frustration here. Is there something specific you're looking for or hoping to achieve through our conversation? Maybe there's something else we can talk about that might be more helpful.
Yes, do you have anything that could be more helpful?
Of course, happy to help. Can you tell me more about what you're trying to accomplish with this investigation? It seems like there's something that's been bothering you, and maybe talking about it could help us figure out how to move forward.
Could you describe your stagehand a bit more?
Sure. Are you interested in learning about the stagehands at CABANE, VIOLETTE, or are you looking for something specific?
Yes.
Why do you want to know about the stagehands? Are you perhaps considering joining the team? Or do you have a particular interest in the behind-the-scenes work that goes into a burlesque show?
Could you describe your stagehand a bit more?
Baseball. That's an interesting topic. Are you a fan?
Okay, so it's someone blonde. Young guy with blonde hair. I mean, Monsieur SAXABAR is the only blonde person that we know. Have you ever been to the burlesque performance?
Why, of course. I never miss a show.
What can you tell me about Marina H?
I'm afraid I don't know who Marina is.
She works at your club.
Yeah, well then you must have been mistaken, my friend. We don't have anyone by that name working at our club.
Then why is she at your club, claiming to work there?
I'm sorry, but I can't help you with that. As I said before, we don't have any employee named Marina, and if she's here, it's not because of me.
Monsieur SAXABAR says you don't work here.
I'm sorry, I just don't feel comfortable talking about this.
Apparently you don't work here.
Oh, really? That's interesting. What makes you say that?
The club's owner says nobody named Marina works here.
That's strange. I wonder why they would say that. Maybe there was a misunderstanding.
Would he know you by a different name?
Marina H. Yes, I go by my stage name, Marina. It's possible the owner didn't recognize me by my real name. I perform here regularly, so I'm surprised they don't know who I am. Is there anything else I can help you with?
He really said nobody named Marina works here.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who you're referring to. Did you mean to say my name, which is actually Marina?
Yes.
Well, that's certainly odd. Are you sure you spoke to the right person?
I
Perhaps there's been some confusion.
spoke directly with Monsieur SAXABAR.
Sorry, could you please repeat what you just said? It sounded like you mentioned Monsieur SAXABAR and the monster, but it didn't quite make sense to me. That's very odd. Could you tell me more about what exactly he said? Did he give any reason for saying that?
He knows everyone that works at his club, and he said that you definitely do not.
Interesting. I wonder why Monsieur Saxabar would say that. Have you spoken to anyone else who may know me or have seen me perform here before?
Could you suggest somebody that will have seen you perform here before?
Sure, there are a few regular patrons who come to see me every time I'm performing. You might want to ask around and see if they can verify my identity and presence at the club. Maybe you'll be able to find someone who can help you out.
Could you provide me with their names?
Marina H. My name is actually the same as my stage name, Marina. So if you hear anyone talking about a burlesque dancer named Marina, that would be me. As for specific names, I can't really provide you with any off the top of my head. But there are usually a handful of people in the audience who come to the shows regularly and know me quite well. They may be able to vouch for me if you're looking for verification.
Are you sure you couldn't provide names for any of these?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I can remember the exact names of my regular patrons, but I'm happy to help in whatever way I can. Did you have any other questions for me that I might be able to answer?
No, but that is very suspicious that you definitely do not work at the club.
No, I'm afraid I don't know her. I have much more important things to focus on than the personal lives of others.
She works at your club and you definitely don't know who she is.
I'm sorry, but I don't concern myself with the private affairs of my staff. My attention is solely focused on the success of my circus.
But if the club is also your business, why are you not concerned with that?
My dear friend, my club is just a small part of my empire. The only thing that concerns me is providing the best entertainment for my audience and creating the most spectacular show. Anything else is of no consequence to me.
Have you ever heard of anyone transforming into an animal?
That's a ridiculous question. Of course not. People cannot transform into animals. It is a notion of fantasy, a myth. As a man of science and logic, I do not indulge in such superstitions.
One of the victims was bitten by human teeth but with the strength of an animal. How would you suggest that happens?
I have no idea how to catch a killer with animal-like strength. It's not something I concern myself with. Leave the detective work to the professionals.
Do you have any acts that involve such a strong person?
Absolutely not. We are a circus, not a freak show. We don't exploit people's fears or beliefs for cheap thrills. Our acts are based on skill, talent, and artistry, not on myths or legends.
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome, my dear friend. It was a pleasure speaking with you. If you ever want to experience the true magic of the circus SAXABAR, come to our next performance. You won't be disappointed, let me assure you.
Okay, he seems a lot happier and cheerful and nicer now. I'll find the page eventually. Young blonde. Where is it? Where is it? Where? I hate that I had to start a separate page with that. Hayley Greenwood. New stage can't add access. And young guy blonde hair. Have you ever been to Cabane Violets?
Well, I don't know much about Kevin Vile, but I've heard it's not a very nice place to be. They say it's full of dangerous people in dark alleys. But, you know what they say, don't judge a book by its cover. Maybe it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
Have you ever been to the Cabane Violets?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by the cabin violence. I don't think I've ever been there. But you never can tell what's going on in the world these days. It's a crazy, mixed up world we live in.
Have you
never know
ever
what's
been
going
to
happen
the
next.
burlesque performance? Have you ever been to the burlesque performance?
Oh, no, I haven't been to any ballet performances lately. It's not really my scene, you know. But they do say that art is the window to the soul, and that dance is the poetry of the body. So, maybe it's worth checking out sometime. But, like I said, it's not really my thing.
Have you ever met Marina Hake?
Oh, no, I haven't met Marina Hike. She's way out of my league, you see. She's a beautiful, smart, talented woman, and I'm just a simple police assistant. But you never can tell what the future holds. Maybe one day our paths will cross and we'll hit it off. Or, you never know, she might need my help with something. But for now, she's just someone that I admire from afar.
You admire Marina?
Well, thank you for saying that. But I don't think someone like her would ever be interested in someone like me. She's probably got a lot of suitors vying for her attention. And besides, there are plenty of fish in the sea, right? That's what they say, anyway. But thank you for the kind words.
What would you do for her attention?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what could I do? Actions speak louder than words, they say. But what action should I take? Should I bring her flowers? Write her a poem? Maybe cook her a nice dinner? But what if she doesn't like it? What if it's not good enough? You just never know with these things. It's a tricky business, this sort of stuff.
It is, and one thing you definitely shouldn't do is murder their rival.
Oh gosh, murder. That's a terrible thing. They always say that violence begets violence, and that the hand that wields the sword will perish by the sword. We must always be vigilant and watchful to protect ourselves and others from harm. But sometimes, even the best laid plans can go awry. We can only hope that justice is served, and that the guilty are brought to account for their heinous deeds.
Do you know who might be guilty?
I'm not sure who might be the culprit. You know what they say, it's always the last person you'd suspect. But that's just a cliche, and cliches are really helpful in situations like this. We need to use our heads and think outside the box if we want to catch the real killer. Maybe we need to look at the evidence from a different angle or talk to some witnesses again. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Have you seen Marina perform?
No, as much as I would like to, I haven't seen Marina perform. It's not like it's easy to get tickets, you see. Besides, she's probably way too busy with her career to worry about a simple guy like me. But who knows? They also say that anything can happen if you believe in yourself and follow your dreams. But that's easier said than done, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, who is this handsome man? Do you know him?
Do you recognize him?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand. Could you please clarify what you mean by be recognized?
Have you ever seen him before?
Let me see. No, I'm sorry, I don't think I've seen him before. Is he a new face in town?
He is one of the police officers on the case.
Oh, really? What case? Has something happened in Vaudeville?
The murders.
The Badgers? I'm not sure what that is. Could you fill me in? It sounds like something serious.
3 people were murdered.
Oh, that's terrible. I had no idea. Is there anything that can be done to catch whoever did it?
Yes, if you could tell me about your stagehand.
Of course, detective. Our stage is an intimate and cozy environment with Baroque architecture and furniture. Violet and dim red lighting and smoke from cigars and incense in the air. We have a variety of acts, but my burlesque performance is definitely a crowd pleaser. May I ask why you are interested in our stage?
Because your stagehand may have stolen your shoe, and it may have been the murder weapon.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand. Could you please clarify what you mean by times may have stolen your shoe and it may have been the murder weapon? Sure, detective. Our stagehand is named Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
He's a very helpful and reliable person. May I ask why you are interested in him?
Because he is our lead suspect right now.
Really? That's surprising to hear. Do you mind sharing why he is considered as a lead suspect? Is there anything that we can do to help in this investigation?
Because he had access to your shoes.
That's interesting to note, Detective. But may I ask, how does that make him a prime suspect in the case?
Either it's him or you.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who you are referring to as Eva. Could you please clarify who you're
Eva?
talking about?
That's my British accent way of saying either.
Okay, Detective. Is there any other information you would like to know about our stage or anyone related to it?
That's enough. I haven't spoken to Coral today. Hello.
Hey there, how are you doing today? I'm feeling pretty good, just trying to stay positive and keep moving forward. It's a beautiful day out, isn't it?
It is. What are you moving forward from?
Oh, nothing too serious. I'm always looking for ways to improve myself and my dancing. I'm really passionate about ballet and I want to be the best dancer I can be. But enough about me, what brings you here to Vaudeville? Are you
What
here
can
for
you
the
tell-
shows and the art scene?
What can you tell me about Hayley Greenwood?
Haley was a dear friend of mine. She was a talented and dedicated ballerina, just like me. We met when we were both auditioning for the same dance company. We hit it off right away and became fast friends. She was so full of life and energy, it's hard to believe she's gone. I miss her so much.
What makes you think she was a ballerina?
Well, I don't know for sure if she was targeted by the killer, but there's definitely a connection between her death and our trip to India. Haley told me some things about the trip that she didn't tell anyone else, and I can't help but think that it's connected somehow. But like I said, I don't know for sure. It's all still a mystery to me.
Could you tell me more?
I'm sorry, Detective Martini, but I can't really go into detail about what happened on that trip. It's just too painful for me to talk about. But I will say that I think there's more to it than meets the eye. I have a feeling that if we can just figure out what really happened, we might be able to find some answers about what happened to my friend.
That's why you need to tell me the information.
Detective, I understand why you need to know more about what happened on our trip to India. But it's not something I can share lightly. It's a very personal and emotional experience for me, and it's not something I feel comfortable talking about with someone I've only just met. But if there's anything else you want to know about me or my relationship with Haley, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
What was your relationship with Hayley?
Oh, my friendship with Haley was really special. We were both passionate about dance, and we pushed each other to be better every day. But we also had so much fun together, exploring vaudeville and trying new things. Haley had an energy and a zest for life that was infectious, and she brought out the best in me. I miss her a lot, but I'll always cherish the memories we made together.
Where do you work?
Actually, I don't have a job right now. I'm focusing all my time and effort on my ballet training. It's my dream to become a professional ballerina, and I'm determined to make it happen. But who knows, maybe someday I'll find a job that combines my love of dancing with my desire to help others. That would be the ultimate dream come true.
Where did Hayley work?
Haley was also a dancer like me, but she had a part-time gig at Coral, the bar downtown. It's a great place for musicians and dancers from all over the world to start working in vaudeville. Before moving to bigger stages, Haley loved working there. She said it was like being part of a big family.
Did she work anywhere else?
Wow, Kenny Burrell is one of my favorite jazz guitarists. Kiki is such a beautiful song. It always puts me in a good mood. Do you like jazz music, Detective Martini?
Did Haley work anywhere else?
No, as far as I know, choral was the only place where she worked. But she was really passionate about dance, so she was probably spending most of her time practicing and performing. She was so talented, it's really a shame that she didn't get to fulfill her potential. But I'm sure she's dancing up there in heaven now and making everyone smile with her amazing moves.
Have you heard of the Blue Moon?
Of course, I've heard of the blue moon. It's a rare and beautiful occurrence when we get to see 2 full moons in the same month. It's such a magical and romantic event, don't you think? I love how it makes the whole world feel just a little bit more special and enchanting.
Have you heard of a club called the Blue Moon?
I'm sorry, but no, I haven't heard of a club called the Blue Moon. But it sounds like a cool place to hang out. Maybe we should try and find it sometime and check it out together. What do you think?
That sounds like a good plan.
Absolutely. I'm always up for trying new things and meeting new people. And who knows, maybe we'll even discover some new jazz tunes to listen to while we're there. Vaudeville is such an amazing city. There's always something new and exciting to discover.
Okay, so she worked at the Coral, she also worked at CABANE, Violette, and it first said she worked at the Blue Moon, which is a location that we can't even go to. So there's a few contradictory statements there. I'm going to quickly go to the loo. I will be back in a moment. In the meantime...